Folks, it's that Kimberly here today. With that said, hi
Hey,
Patty.
Kimberly, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining me today. Give the audience a little bit of about where you're located and who you are.
So, Patty Crawford, also known as Patty Dazzle on my Twitter handle.
And
Today, I know it's a fun one.
yeah.
I am located in Savannah today. I have a house in Savannah that is on the market, but I might as well take advantage of it because it's on the water and it's fun to, have a big backyard. But I actually live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So this is my social distancing in the house here in Savannah. So it's kind of nice.
Yes. Well, so do you have a full house there in Savannah too, or you're social distancing from the family as well?
I actually brought the kids with me. So that's, the fun thing is there is a little bit of management of, I do have triplets that are 19 years old. So keeping them away from friends and anybody else, it's like they can entertain themselves here. But it is sometimes fun at, 2:00 in the morning because they have a tendency to stay up.
Oh my gosh, 19
Yeah,
year olds. So does that mean they're doing how like 19?
they're
Tell me
college.
what, yeah, they're doing college remotely then, right?
So they were in college at Kennesaw State in Atlanta, but now they are all remote. So every once in a while, I'll catch them with a test or, on their computer, trying to get things done, usually last minute, of course, because they're college students. So right now, yeah, they're working colleging from Savannah. It's interesting to see if they'll want to go online full time next year, if they'll actually want to go back to a campus. So we'll see how this all rolls out, but it's we're lucky enough to have a house that we can come to that's pretty big and nice, and everybody can have their own space. So
a lot of social distancing
yes,
for you and your family. How is it?
yes.
So it's not affecting you in that way where you all are all piled up on each other. How is it affecting you and I should say, how is it affecting your teams then? They're now having to be at work from. Are you all in the shelter in place as well?
I think everybody on the team is in shelter in place. I mean, we've had some people, we're based in San Francisco, and they were one of the very first to shelter in place. And so we have people that have been sheltering for more than 5 weeks now. Where they've got, a smaller apartment, they still can get out a little bit. It's, that would be a lot more challenging. One of the reasons I just came down to Savannah the last couple of days, because we were all piled in the Atlanta house, and it was, a lot smaller and it was a lot more challenging. So I was like, let's go, and just sit in the house in Savannah until it sells. And so that's what we're doing. So for the team, I think the national team is used to working out of their house. I think for some of the regional AEs that really get out and they're like on feet on the street all the time, that's been a challenge. And we were really quick though at Zumper to adjust. Like over one weekend, we really adjusted it, did a work from home program, figured out, the new, this is what we want you to do. And we've got a really strong HR team that's kind of, reaching out saying, hey, make sure you have good mental health. We've got little tips and tricks. I've been actually sharing them with a lot of owner managers too, because, it's why recreate the wheel if you can just copy it.
And share, because some tips, so everything is different. Some things work for some, others don't, and so they can just pick and choose whatever, and not everybody has the manpower to put that into place. So good for you for sharing your COVID-19 work from home tips.
It's so fun.
Yes, it's definitely been an adjustment for everyone. I can't even imagine having young kids and having to be their teacher at the same time.
I think that's the biggest challenge. So I've actually taken on just a little bit where I'm a math tutor at times. I've got a girlfriend that's at home with 2 kids. And so, she's like, this math is crazy. And so I'm Googling just how to remember. I know how to get to the answer, but, how do I do that in writing so I can show my work?
Absolutely.
And so I've done a lot of that. That would be way more challenging to I mean, even when my kids were in school and I wasn't the full-time teacher, that was so much work. But working full-time and helping with homework, I think, a lot of Atlanta's on spring break this week. So I'm off on my official tutoring responsibilities, but they'll start back up next week.
Your responsibility is to teach your teens how to stay socially distanced at all times.
I've had more Zoom happy hours than I ever thought, right? During the day, at night, I mean, sometimes 3 or 4 times a night. You almost have to go to water at some point because you can't really, if you were actually drinking the whole time, it'd be the end of you. You couldn't get up the next morning.
Definitely. Well, I just want to give a quick shout out to Paula from Oakhurst, and Allison. I believe she's in the DFW area.
Ooh.
That are joining us.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you're talking about the full, like, ongoing Zoom calls, a lot of work, but a lot of happy hours, or just, social gatherings, if you will. Would you find that you and your team were probably some that were already used to doing these things? Are you finding that, any of your clients that you've talked to are getting more comfortable with this sort of technology? I feel like more calls that I'm on, people are way more comfortable about being on camera, whether they have their face on or whatever or not. That they'll just go ahead and turn on the video camera.
Yeah. I think the funnest thing with, we've always used Zoom and we're really comfortable with it from the national team. I've reached out to all of my smaller management companies that I know didn't have a need to use any kind of online webinar program, and just said, hey, I'll be happy to host a Zoom call so you feel comfortable. This is really good. Anything you're specifically looking for. So I've tried to, reach out to those people because I know it's a lot if you've got a team and you're adjusting everything at one time. I think the fun thing for us is that everybody's a little bit, not as buttoned up as they had been before. Yeah. So, when you had a Zoom call before, it's like, shut your door and lock your dogs in and, and apologize if the doorbell rings. And it's like today, like, a small child may walk in at any time and that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah. Right. And like, you learn everybody's names, like you can say hi to, Blair and DFW. And so there's all sorts of, it's exciting, I think, because you get to meet spouses come in and out, and it's just a little bit more of a family atmosphere at work, and you just kind of have to roll with that. So it's a lot of fun.
And everybody's okay with the hold on 2 seconds, or whatever it is that happens while you're on your call. Even though, like, I did shut my door, but since my boyfriend also is having to work from home and juggle things, we try to be mindful, but at the same time, my voice does carry, so it doesn't matter what room I'm in.
No.
So he's a lot more patient than, probably most, but it just is. But I find that now that I'm forced to work from home, now I find myself wanting to go and be out more. That's been a real struggle for me, to not be able to have the human connection other than just going to the grocery store. And even when we go, we're all like, masked up with gloves. And
I find people even at the grocery stores are not making as much eye contact. It's like everybody's looking down and trying to avoid each other. So it's not only are we not touching each other, but we're not even looking at each other and not even acknowledging other human beings. And that's, I think, we need to be cognizant of that and really, look out. And I mean, I feel like I'm really blessed and lucky. I have a house and I have food, and I'm not, I have a job. I'm not wondering where my next meal is going to come from. And I think I've been trying to go and give back to the community whenever possible, give food, do whatever I can, make sure I look at the Nextdoor app to see if anybody needs me to help with groceries or anything else, because I do have what I need, even though emotionally it's a little bit, it's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely, I have found that more people are more accepting in the whole mindful aspect of, if you're not having a good day, you can say, today's not a good day for me. Or somebody, like at the grocery store, my boyfriend was standing in line the other day and he said that a woman looked back at a gentleman and he just kind of like, I can't even remember what his reaction was, but they both kind of laughed and giggled and distanced themselves when they realized one of them was too close.
Too close.
Not being in a mean
Right.
way, but
Mhm.
legitimately for the safety of that other person. And we just becoming more sensitive to others' surroundings because,
Right.
like for me, I had to make the decision of not flying to El Paso this month, and it was very hard. But at the same time, I would be heartbroken if I was the reason, the outsider that came into the house, my
Mhm.
mom's house, and she got sick.
Right.
So thinking of others first, even though it seems like, I'm because I'm wiping everything down and, just trying to be mindful in that sense. But it's definitely a new normal, if you
It
will.
is.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest challenge for me is with the 19-year-olds. They,
Yes.
they're invincible. They want to go out with their friends. I try to talk to them about, let them watch a little bit of the news or any personal stories I have with friends. And,
Yeah.
but it still is
Or what are
hard.
their thoughts when you have that conversation with them?
I mean, they're like, yeah, but it's almost like, well, yes, everybody else but me. They don't really think it's real. I think,
Wow.
I don't want them to know somebody that gets this, but they don't personally know anybody that has it. So to them, it's like not a big deal. And young people don't get sick. So there's a little bit of a nonchalant, like, oh, we'll blow it off. And I keep bringing it back to, but you have to be less selfish because you can pass this on. I think the biggest thing for most people is that if you do pass it on, it's not really tied back to you. So you're not going to know, was it me that actually gave it and passed it to somebody else? And I think that's the most important thing is it's your job to make sure that you're not the one that's going to pass that, pass a disease on to somebody. So
Absolutely. Because I could not go home this month and my mom needed surgery, my niece and my nephew, who are 19, the other one's 22, 23-ish. She's about to graduate from college. She's spending her last semester at home. But point being is when we explained to them, I think they watched a little bit of the news and they became more mindful because my mom is in her 70s. Their grandmother is, or great grandmother, my grandmother, their great grandmother is 92 years old. Yeah. So they're very heightened aware and they keep their distance. They wash their hands more because my mom needs a little assistance at night because she can't remember that she can't walk. I just tell them, wash your hands before you get close to grandma, cover your mouth. And it's because you can be asymptomatic. Did you have to have the asymptomatic conversation with them at all, or is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've tried everything. It's still, I think they still feel a little bit invincible there. We don't talk about it as much. I try to announce it sometimes when the funny thing with triplets is that, they've got built-in friends. So they can kind of have a party with the three of them and it doesn't seem like anything's different. Right. And I'm like, guys, remember while you're here, social distancing and having fun with each other, there's still this, boundary. So, they're like, I'm going to go out and get something to eat. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, wait, do you remember what's going on? So you just have to like remind them every once in a while what's going on. So, yeah.
What tips would you give someone that is, has teenagers, for them to be able to, somebody who travels all the time, who, does work from home, but is, has to balance all that. What kind of tips would you give someone? I
think the biggest thing is I've utilized this time to spend more time with them. So I think the only way for me to keep them from wanting to go out and be with their friends all the time is to provide structure, just like you did with 5-year-olds. I hope they're not watching this. If they are in big trouble. So we started doing dinner. So we decided everybody's going to make a dinner, go ahead and figure out what you like best. Everybody wanted pasta. I was like, we can't have just pasta. It has to be a balanced meal. You have to research the ingredients. You have to write your ingredients. You have to look and see what we have. You have to write down anything we don't have on the list so we can pick it up at the grocery store. And that's, I think, been probably one of the best lessons for them. They enjoyed it. We've eaten meals together. They've been delicious. And they're learning how to actually cook for themselves, which they don't do that today. They go out to eat, or they eat like, one thing, like, we will eat all pasta or something. They're not used to preparing a meal. So that's been fun. I think that's been the biggest thing. And then we also like played poker one night. So we're trying to do things together as a family. And they're like, it's like we're kids. I was like, yeah, well, kind of, but it's better than, going out. There's nothing else to do. So let's do something fun. So
yeah. And card games, like my boyfriend and I found ourselves shopping for a new board game. Yeah. Even though there were so many of them, I'm like, how about we research a couple of these before we go and buy one? Because there are these mobile, like heads up with,
those are fun.
Yeah. But what if, why not try something, old school, if you will, in the good old fashioned Uno. We grabbed the Uno cards because we didn't have any. And then we're going to research a couple of the new ones that, and then I think Jeff Durstock that I had on earlier in the week, him and his partner have Sequence. And then there's also an app called House Party that I just learned about.
Yes, I do know that app called House Party. Yep.
So there are things to definitely for all generations to reconnect with. Thank goodness that we are not just relying on one, because I feel like it's almost like the day that there's no electricity, you don't realize how much you need electricity for, let alone internet.
Hey, Yahtzee is fun. I mean, just a set of dice and you're done. Anybody can play Yahtzee. Go on. You can print it out online. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Paula, who's watching us, her and her husband play dominoes. So
they're fun.
Yeah. There's so many creative things that we can reconnect with, I feel. And even doing those things, have you tried any kind of board games with your team virtually?
We haven't done any yet, but I think that's next on our list. We were talking about there's all sorts of Zoom games that you can do, so we're gonna
I have to look into the Zoom games, because Zoom is my preference.
Me too.
Of the virtual meeting. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because
easy.
But figuring out something more than just talking and drinking or recording.
That's it.
I'm looking to do for the future.
So we were going to do, the last thing we were going to do is room Z's, because we're a Zumper, so everything has a Z on it. And, check out your cribs, right? So we're going to do the cribs. So we could, everybody tour everybody else's house while we're on Zoom. That's kind of a fun thing we're looking at. So, lots of different things.
I saw Matthew McConaughey did a bingo with
yes, I saw that.
A senior living center. So that was quite neat. So I know that it's definitely doable in general to figure out one way or another to bring everybody's doing concerts. They did the CMAs, or not CMAs, but they did a country and music award. Right, last night or night before last.
One of those.
So I was like, hey, if there's technology out there to do it, folks, whatever it is that you're thinking of, right? So
for sure. I mean,
what would you say that you've learned? What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned out of all this?
I think things have changed. I think that a lot of things have changed. Like, I don't know that everything is going to go back to normal. I think one of the things that I learned is, like, I was not putting things off. And I think it's important, like, when you have an opportunity to see somebody or hug somebody or do that, go ahead and do that, because it's weird that you would think that you can't hug somebody or visit somebody tomorrow. My mother is in St. Louis, and she has some conditions that she should stay in. Luckily, she had a little sickness, not COVID, right at the inception, which kept her in for 3 weeks. But we can't go see her unless, we've been distanced for a long time. So that's the hardest thing. And I think it's fun to, I think the biggest thing is that there's a lot of connection that you can do via social. And even, if it's FaceTime calls or just the old fashioned, listening to voices, it's to connect every day makes people part of your life. And sometimes we get so busy in business and work that we're talking, but we're not talking. We're distracted. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're traveling. And it's, I found I'm a lot more present today than I have been in the past, because I'm physically doing less. I'm not, getting out of a plane, talking on a phone, worried about my next, how I'm going to get my Uber to get my next meeting. So, and there's a lot, I think I've learned how to communicate better, honestly. Just, listen, it's predominantly listening, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I 100% agree. It is.
Right.
I found myself wanting to call my, I've always enjoyed talking to my father, but
Yeah.
more of my family members that I don't get to talk to all the time
Yeah.
or see all the time, that it's not so weird to pick up the phone and call and see how they're doing. Or friends that I don't get to see but once a quarter, or once a year at a meeting, just texting them or calling, picking up the phone to actually have a conversation is not so unusual.
Right.
And I'm happy that that's the case now, that things
Yeah.
won't go back to that, the what we knew from before. Hopefully we'll take a lot. I feel like taking the kindness approach, will definitely make more, and the mindfulness of understanding, meeting someone else where they're at. Like if they're not having a good day, it's okay. You know, there's a new tomorrow. So, and not holding on to, oh my God, this didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. So
I think that empathy is a big deal too, is that sometimes, so today we're really cognizant that somebody might not be having a good day. They might have, a lot of homework to do, or kids at home, or, a spouse that's trying to have a meeting. There's so much that happens. We just need to be every day, if we, have COVID or not, just think about who's out there, what are they doing? And it might not be their best day, and just be cognizant and empathetic towards that, and not be so, moving on and blasting forward all the time.
yeah,
Just really be cognizant and ask.
yeah, definitely. I 100%, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate you, Patty, for sharing your thoughts and how you're working through this COVID-19 time. If folks want to reach out to you and connect with you, how can they do that?
They can connect with me on Twitter at Patty Dazzle. I've got Facebook, Patty B. Crawford, and Instagram is Patty Dazzle as well. So, and LinkedIn is Patty B. Crawford. So, all sorts of social media. Yeah,
you are, and they can reach out if any of this. Please reach out to Patty if any of her thoughts or process, any tips, anything that you're looking for. Patty, like me, very like-minded in sharing our knowledge and things that we've learned, not just through this time, but through all the times in the future that will be coming from this. So I really, really appreciate you, Patty, so much. And thank you everyone for watching. Like I said, since I am that team of one, I'm multitasking. So we'll be getting to any questions, but stay tuned for tomorrow. I have an author on, and then the day after that, I have Mr. Chad Harmel. I'm going to learn his last name before Thursday.
Good idea.
Yeah, good idea. So until then, thank you guys very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Patty. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.